Hey, Wixman Ray here. Today is Friday, February 27th, 2026. It's almost the end of February here. The first is on Sunday. And then a week from Sunday, this weekend, we'll be turning the clocks, springing forward. So you get an extra hour of daylight, I guess, in the evening. So that'll be good, right? Hey, I just wanted to talk to you. Uh, Sorry I didn't have a video yesterday. I'm going to be doing some traveling over the coming week or so, week and a half. So these videos might be hit and miss. I'll try to get you some out for the weekend, but next week, if you don't see any for a while, you'll know why I'm traveling. So, but I'll try. So, yeah. So we're going to go do some traveling and getting some stuff done. So we're looking at our satellite here, our dayland cloud phase satellite picture here. Fairly quiet across the United States. I mean, for the most part, all the weather's really down in the southeast. A little bit of weather up here in Montana and out in the northeast, but no big storms really, other than these thunderstorms down here in the southeast here and across Florida. So yeah, so just looking, we got some middle and high level clouds up here across the west from, say, northern Utah through, even a little bit back into Colorado, but nothing. It's just then high stuff all the way to California. And this is kind of stuff spilling off the next system that'll come on shore tomorrow and bring some rain out to some of this area tomorrow. So got a little system dipping out of Canada with some lower level clouds across parts of northeast parts of Montana and North Dakota. And yeah, I mean, otherwise, there's a low pressure up here in what is that, Manitoba? And this is, I can't remember. Is that Ontario? I think this is Ontario province. Anyways, up in Canada, that's where all the snow is going to be with this system for the most part, except for a narrow band that sets up and kind of moves in this general direction over the next day or two. And our pattern's pretty quick. We have that east-west, the fast west to east flow. So all these storm systems will be coming across the U.S. at a fairly good clip through next week because we have this what we call the zonal uh, type pattern where everything's just trucking across east to west. We don't have any deep lows or troughs. We do get a little bit of a low out here next week, but even that's going to move along fairly quickly. And then you can see all this down here. This is associated with showers and thunderstorms from North Carolina down through Georgia, Alabama, into the Florida Panhandle. And then there's some other action. Looks like most of it's out over the Gulf and some of the clouds. We'll look at the radar and see if anything's spilling over into that part of Florida, but probably not a whole lot at this point. Okay, we're looking at our observations. Kind of the same story here. Um, so we'll kind of zoom in here and talk about what's going on. Quiet across the west, just some clouds out here, mostly high level clouds, a little bit of middle level clouds. We call mid level clouds around 10 to 12,000 foot in the atmosphere. There's a specific height, top and bottom, but I'm not going to get into all that with you guys. But looks like some fog up in Eugene, Oregon. Yeah, relatively quiet though across the west. Up here in Montana, there looks like there's some snow flurries or light snow trying to develop. Not seeing anything reported. And this stuff is real light. I mean, there might be a little bit of light snow going on in this band here, but most of this probably isn't even hitting the ground yet. But yeah, not too significant. The only thing significant I see out here in the northern plains, there's some winds up here. It looks like gusting up, you know, 35 to 45, almost 50, yeah, 55, 50 mile an hour winds up in Grand Forks. So some gusty northwest type winds. Um, and that extends a little bit into Minnesota. They're not quite as strong, but up in the 30s, 35. So yeah, even a little bit of gusty winds down here in South Dakota. So it's breezy to windy, if you want to call it that. We got some winds out in parts of Wyoming here, gusting up what about 40. in the 40 range, but that's normal. They along this I-80 corridor, it's like almost daily it's windy through there, at least on the portions of it, if not all of it. Yeah, so some winds out in that part of the country. That's really all to talk about up there. Other than that, developing snow, but even that will be kind of minimal. Might bring just a couple inches. We'll take a look at that later. Pretty nice across the south here, southwest. It's warming up into the 70s across Alamogordo, El Paso, Las Cruces area. Whoops. What am I doing, Ray? Trying to write code or something here? Yeah, and some 70s and 80s across SoCal, as they call it. 69 in Vegas, real nice. Let's check out St. George, 56. So they're a little bit cooler, but it'll probably warm right up into the 70s today there. Because it's 10 o'clock in the morning here out west. Well, 11 o'clock mountain time. So, all right. Pretty warm across the south, 70s, almost 80 in Austin, 79 in Austin. In the 60s back here, there's a little bit of a cold front moving through, and that's why you got these showers and thunderstorms. Don't look like anything severe is predicted for today. I know yesterday, farther north up here, they had a few severe thunderstorm warnings and stuff going on. I guess you can't completely roll it out, but I don't think the Storm Prediction Center with the National Weather Service is doing nothing other than ordinary thunderstorms. We can take a look though if you want. Whoops, wrong one. Yeah, yeah, they just have general, no severe expected. Looks like a marginal risk tomorrow across parts of what central, South Florida. So something to keep an eye on down there, I guess. Yeah, whoops. We're getting way ahead of ourselves already, Ray. Okay. So, yeah, so that's really all where all the weather is. South of the front, it's in the 70s, man. 80s down here. Mid 80s, low to mid 80s. 86, 86, 84 in Fort Myers. Nice and warm down there. That's a place to be if you like warm weather. If you like really cold, there's really not much really cold in the United States right now. You have to go up into Canada to find that. Maybe up in the Northeast, maybe in Maine or someplace, but we'll take a look. Yeah, so that rain extends up into North Carolina, almost up to Norfolk there. It's just maybe some rain showers just south of them. But yeah, that's what's going on there. And this whole frontal system will slowly push south as we go through Saturday. Yeah, we got a little bit of maybe light snow flurries up in northern New York, north of Syracuse up here by Watertown, and these areas up here in the Adirondacks, if I can say stuff today. Yeah, a little chilly, not too bad up there, 20. That's not bad for Maine, really. It's the coldest I've seen. Let's see if there's anything back here. Yeah, the winds are keeping it. I mean, it's in the 20s out here, but yeah, nothing to write home about. Yeah, you got to go back into this is Saskatchewan, I think single digits, and so, as you go farther north up in Manitoba. Yeah, that's where the cold air is bottled up in Canada and points northward. All right, I've rambled on about the surface weather. Yeah, in the middle part of the country, I mean, it's 64 in Kansas City, 67 Wichita, 69 Oklahoma City, 68 St. Louis, 55 in Chicago, Indiana, that's Columbus, Ohio, 53, 56. So not too bad, really. I mean, it's pretty mild for end of February across most of the United States here. I think we're pretty much above average most areas. I don't know what happened there, but we're done with that chart. Okay, so we'll get out of that. So this is our GFS. This is the American model, if you followed my channel for a while. And this is the surface depiction of the weather here. I'm going to show you the 500 millibar, or kind of we call it. It's really it's kind of in between the jet stream and the surface. It's at 18,000 feet above sea level. It's always uniform, so it makes it easier to track weather features doing it that way instead of having things at different levels and whatnot. So it makes it just, makes more sense to do it that way. I'm rambling on here. So let's get right to it. So let me take you to that. In fact, I like to use it because it gives you some, especially out west. It's easier to see some of the features because the mountains kind of sometimes tear up the fronts. It's kind of a crude term. It's not a technical term, but it's hard to sometimes distinguish where fronts are unless they're real strong. They show up more clearly. But out across the west, the mountains and the terrain kind of at the surface make it harder to see where like maybe surface fronts are and surface low pressures may be. So looking up in the atmosphere a little bit gives you a better, clearer idea of what's going on in the atmosphere. So this is right now. So this is that wave down in the southeast associated with the thunderstorms, and then this is that little wave we saw up in Canada where all the snow is happening. So, I mean, generally just kind of a smooth pattern here, just like a slow dip into a little bit of a, broad trough of low pressure across the east here, especially in the southeast here. That's why we're getting the weather there. Up here, you got a ridge of high pressure extending out of the Baja of California up into California and parts of Nevada. And yeah, so that's why we have mostly quiet weather for right now. So we'll kind of forward in time that we'll go all the way through Saturday, midday Saturday. So this feature slowly pushing east and it's going to be out of the picture here pretty soon. This is that one that was back here. You can see it's moving pretty quickly. It's staying up in Canada. This little piece of energy is that we'll see a band of snow that'll develop out in this part of the world um, later. And that's what you saw developing out in Montana. A little band of snow move across this part of the country through Saturday, and I think it continues on Sunday. We'll look. Here's our next low pressure coming off the Pacific Ocean, the North Pacific. So this is going to bring the next round of precipitation, mostly rain out here because we're warm out here. Yeah, I mean we're like in the 50s and 60s out here in northern Nevada, so even the highest mountain peaks will struggle to get snow. The snow levels will probably be at least 10,000 feet, if not higher. So I haven't looked at the weather balloon soundings. I call them, they're called soundings, but I say weather balloon for people who aren't meteorologists. So, all right, Ray's rambling on today, man. I got a lot to say, don't I? So here's that first little wave that kind of comes in, and that'll bring some precipitation into Nevada and Utah and California. Um, so there we go. So here's on Monday, late Sunday, really. It comes in Sunday, late Sunday across California. So this upper level low pressure at 500 millibars or 18,000 feet is moving. Gosh, dang it. It really irritates me. All right. So this goes across, and you can see it's clipping around along. Had a fair clip. It's already into Utah and Colorado by Tuesday, so it's moving across the west. So this will bring some rain. The center part of where the low is, there'll be a little bit colder air. So um, depending on the time of the day, there'll probably be some snow, probably down to 5,000 to 6,000 foot elevation levels as that low pressure moves overhead. So parts of northern Nevada, even central Nevada, may get in on a little snow action on Monday and even into Utah and Colorado, especially Colorado with the Rocky Mountains, the big, higher elevations up there will definitely get snow on Tuesday. So, yeah. Then you see this little thing, a little clipper comes across the north too, and this is Tuesday evening. And then as we go into Wednesday, this thing kind of starts taking a northeast turn and it'll bring rain and a little bit of snow probably on the north end up here. Although it's a fairly warm system, and you'll see that as we show the surface depiction. So this is Wednesday evening, and then there's the next storm that comes on shore. This is what Wednesday across the Pacific Northwest and kind of swings across the northern Rockies and clips, Nevada and Utah and then that kind of dips southeast a little bit. So yeah, so you can see how quick this moved, and this kind of weakens too as we go into Thursday. Look at that, it's trucking across the Ohio Valley, and then it's almost it's. I mean, it's still a little bit of a dip, but it's really weakened by the through the day on Thursday. It's moving off the East Coast, and then here's the second system here on. This is Thursday night coming out of the Rockies and into the plains, and that'll bring another round of storm. We'll probably see this first storm and this next storm. We'll probably see some thunderstorms on the warm edge or the warm sector of the storm. So we'll show you that. This one looks a little stronger, and the pattern kind of reorients. So when you see this, it's going to get real warm across the plains, all the way up through the Midwest, and even into the Northeast. I mean, you're seeing this ridge develop. What the heck? I touched it. And anyways, there's a ridge of high pressure developing, and that's going to bring a lot of warmer air, even up into where they had all the snow. So some of the snow may start to actually melt down a little bit. Yeah, so that's kind of as we look out. That's a week, 7, 8 days out. The models have been in fair agreement. Like I said, man, with these storms, don't take them as the gospel truth. If you believe in a God or whatever you want to call it, don't take it as the truth or your truth or whatever people call it nowadays. Um, because there will be a storm out there, but like it may be weaker, it may be stronger, it may be faster, it may be slower. Um, you may get rain or you may get snow. I think you've seen memes on social media about that. All I'm saying is there's uncertainty, especially and we're getting closer to the transition season in March and April, so that's common. With the sun angle going up higher, especially trying to figure out where the rain snow line is going to be is sometimes a bit tricky. So yeah, it's not as clear cut sometimes. Yeah, so that's kind of what's going on there. A couple different storms. Those are going to be your two major ones. These two, the ones before were a little bit weaker, but so we'll show you the surface here. We'll go right back to today. Try to speed this up a little bit here. Sometimes I get a little long-winded, but I hope you guys learned something out of this. So our, oh, come on, man, I keep thinking I can move my screen with my mouse, and I can't, and that wants to pull up a point sounding, as they call it. So yeah, here's that front across the southeast. Scroll up. So this is basically right now at 1800 UTC time or Zulu time. We use those interchangeably, which is about 1 o'clock on the East Coast, which is where the storm is. So yeah, so that's right now. So yeah, that kind of pushes south overnight into Saturday across Florida, and looks like there'll be some lingering thunderstorms through Saturday. By Sunday, maybe a little bit of activity, but the front pretty much washes out on Saturday and moves out to sea. So that's all we're going to say about that system. Um, Otherwise, see, it's not really picking up on that band here, but it starts. So especially this evening, it shows some snow breaking out across parts of Montana, Dakotas, and you see that little strip of snow kind of skirts across the north. Gets a little more organized as we go across the Great Lakes into the Northeast. So that'll bring a few inches of snow here and there. I wouldn't see most places probably won't exceed 5 inches, but you could get a few inches. So we'll stay with that. Last time I looked at the models, I think they were going like 2 to 5 range with that. It may be a little bit more here with that thing kind of strengthening a bit. Then we get our next little booger here of a storm. This one's still a little challenging, and this one we talked about the other day, 2 days ago. It's pretty similar. It's slowed down on its timing. It's really developing on Sunday, especially later in the day across the Central Plains here. Um, so it's showing, some northern half of Missouri, some wintry precip, either, snow or sleet. I don't know if this is going to be a good freezing rain setup, but some sort of mixed bag of wintry weather up here, and then warmer down south in the southern part with rain, and maybe even a little bit of thunder trying to develop. But the dynamics don't look as strong with this, so we may not see a lot of thunderstorms with this system. But still, even though this is what 2.5 days out from the model run this morning, 60 hours. They're still struggling. The European has the snow line like north of Kansas City, the Canadian somewhere in between. So, like I said, it's real tricky on where it's going to be rain and snow, especially between like St. Joe, Missouri, and Kansas City area. Yeah, so that's going to be a little tricky there. But I-70 may be affected, at least, or that might be the dividing line. We'll see. But something to keep an eye on, be aware of if you're out in that neck of the woods. So this is going into Sunday night and Monday. So this is a fairly progressive system moving right across. You may get a few inches of snow out of this. Like I said, it looks like it may be extended out here. Might be a wintry mix out here, out in North Carolina, Virginia. So yeah, and then we get this next low pressure that develops, and that was that storm coming out of the Rockies here. Um, so before we get ahead of ourselves, so we had this little wave, right? Okay, so it's starting to get a little more active, as you see. So we'll go back in time here. So we got those systems entering the west on Saturday. So this is mostly rain. There may be some really high snow, but yeah, high elevation snow, but most everyone where everyone lives is going to be rain. And it's not going to be a lot, but just enough, to wet the ground or, fill up your rain gauge, a little bit out west. So that goes into Sunday, shifts a little bit north. But here comes that low pressure. So the rain picks up out here in Nevada and these parts. And then you can see, like I told you, that center of that low comes in with a little bit cooler air in the upper levels, translates down to the surface, and we start seeing some snow showing up Monday morning here, Sunday night, Monday morning. So maybe parts of northern Nevada, central Nevada might see a little bit of snow, maybe a couple inches or so. And that's kind of as we go into Monday night and Tuesday, it looks like, valley rain, mountain snow, snow levels. I haven't really looked real close, but I could probably at least 6,000 feet or so, maybe a little lower with this system. And that moves into Colorado through the day on Tuesday. And then you see this low pressure develop. So, gosh, man, I really hate this thing sometimes. So, and you can kind of see there's a front here. This is a warm front developing from this low that develops on the lee side of the Rockies here. This is a commonplace for lows to develop as these systems move out of the Rockies. So you'll see that more often than not. But so we see some rain breaking out here across this part of the country, and then the northern end, some wintry precip, some snow, maybe some pellets, ice pellet type stuff. Yeah, and that low really gets strengthening as we go through the day on Tuesday into the southern plains, central plains. And then this is where we're going to see the thunderstorms start breaking out, late Tuesday into Wednesday back in, roughly from Kansas City southward, into North Texas, back into Texas. So, yeah. So, yeah, this will be our strongest storm of the week, the coming work week. And this is going through the day on Thursday, so pretty good amounts of. They're showing these heavier moderate to heavy bands. That's showing you there's going to be moisture and probably some pretty good showers and thunderstorms, putting down some good rains across this area. But a very warm system, as you can see, even up into Iowa and all the way towards the Lake Erie. That's looks like it's all going to be rain for the most part. And we go into Thursday morning here. Look at that, it's mainly rain. The trailing front will probably still have some thunderstorms along. But yeah, the far northeast part might still get some wintry action with this on Thursday, but getting real warm. And then you see this next one. This was that one that comes out of the, so that'll bring some real good rain in the Pacific Northwest, and then some rain and snow up here for the mountains, Northern Rockies that dips into Colorado and these areas, and then another low pressure. Well, that's no, that's that first one. Okay, or is it? No, this is the second one because that was the first one. Okay, I'm getting confused here. Yeah, so like I said, another they form in the same general area, but this one's going to take a more northeast track, and this will be rain. Looks like when you see something like this is means if this pans out, you'll see some heavy snow in this. We call it the deformation zone of the frontal system. So that's where you tend to get a lot of heavy snow. Lots of snow. So yeah, so looks like the Dakotas and the Minnesota and parts of Wisconsin, but a fairly warm system. I mean, it's just the backside. So this will all be thunderstorms. This is Friday evening. So yeah, so it's going to get stormy starting, middle of the week, and we'll have a couple storms moving across the eastern half of the country as they exit the west. So pretty active. So I've jabbered on. Like I said, I appreciate you showing up and watching and having patience with me. This one got a little long-winded. I try to keep them less than 20 minutes, but you can see that didn't happen today. But just to reiterate, I may not have a lot of videos coming out over the next coming week. I might get a few out this weekend, one or two. If I'll try to at least get one, and then we'll see what happens next week. So hey, this is Wix Man Ray out.